Hi. So the CDC, the Center for Disease Control here in the United States, has released a study on high school students, their sexual orientation, and their behavior. And it's sort of a good news, bad news situation. But good news first. So the good news is that there are a hell of a lot of students who identify as bisexual. So everyone thinks of, the gay youth or the lesbian youth. Well, in reality, only 2% of the high school population identifies as gay or lesbian. 2% identify as gay of girls, of boys, and 2% of women, girls, identify as lesbian. However, 6% of high school students identify as bisexual. 6%, that means that there are 3 times as many high school students who identify as bisexual as opposed to lesbian and gay. That is mind-blowingly large. 3 times as many. And you think of all these gay student groups and lesbian student groups when in actuality, the bisexuals are the one who dominate all of the non-straight categories in high school. And if you want to break it down from boys to girls, there are 2% of girls who identify as lesbian, and 9.8% of all high school girls identify as bisexual. Almost 10%! And for boys, it's 2% who identify as gay, and then 2.4% who identify as bisexual. So even in the high school student situation, there are more boys identifying as bisexual as identifying as gay. And you might think, oh, well, you know what? They're students who identify as bisexual first, and then later on they become, gay, or maybe they, then identify as straight. But the interesting thing is, if you look at the adult numbers from the study that the CDC did back in January of 2016, it turns out that there are 2% of adult males who identify as bisexual. So when you compare it to the 2.4% of high school boys who identify as bisexual, that seems pretty much on par in accordance to the acceptance of bisexuality that's going on. Now, when you compare it to adult women who identify as bisexual, which is 5.5, and then compare that to the 9.8 of high school students, that number seems, it's a great number. I'm just amazed by it. But that's fantastic. That just shows how much the label of bisexuality is becoming acceptable. And man, that means if you're a high school student in the United States right now, you have in our class, you can look around and there just be so many other bisexual students just like yourself around you, and you don't even realize it. That's the good news. Now, the bad news is pretty bad. The bad news is that, and when I refer to bisexual students, because the survey actually lumps together bisexuals, gay, and lesbians together, and just gave one answer. But the truth is, 3 times as many bisexuals as there are gay and lesbians. So really the group they're talking about is bisexuals. And there's evidence that shows that that's so. Other studies. So it shows that bisexual students are either 50% more likely or anywhere up to 4 times more likely to do the following. They are more likely to drink. They're more likely to smoke. They're more likely to smoke pot. They're more likely to do cocaine. They're more likely to do heroin. They're more likely to do methamphetamines. They're more likely to do steroids. They're more likely to be overweight. They're less likely to exercise. They're less likely to eat fruit, less likely to eat vegetables, less likely to get 8 hours of sleep. They're less likely to wear seatbelts when driving. They're more likely to text while driving. Everything possible negative bisexual students are more likely to do. They're also more likely to be in violent relationships, and they're more likely to be forcefully raped. And you have to ask why? Why in God's name is this correct? Between 50% more likely than straight students to 4 times more likely? And for a long time I've known about this statistic similar to statistics, and I've thought, why could this possibly be the case? And then it hit me recently. All of these things in terms of the behavior, in terms of drinking, in terms of smoking, in terms of, pot, in terms of the harder stuff, why do adults do it? Adults do it because they want to escape. And why does anyone want to escape? Because they view the world, their world, as being bad, and they want to escape to something that's not bad. Which is understandable. I think that if you are bisexual, you understand exactly that need to escape or desire to escape. And once you start going down the path of drinking more, of trying harder drugs and hallucinogens and whatnot, the more likely you are to make poor decisions, the more likely you are to get yourself in sexual situations that will end badly for you. It's like a snowball effect, all coming from the fact that your desire to escape. But I think that's, in a way, almost a good sign, because that means if the problem is that the bisexual high school students have a need to escape, and it's because that they believe that things are bad, then it's just a matter of changing perspective for that horrible statistic to change. And it's actually kind of easy to change perspective, because that's pretty much based on an old reality. Yeah, decades ago, it was horrible to be bisexual because it was completely unaccepted. No one talked about it. You're basically invisible. No one knew anything about it, and you were just alone. But that's not reality today. There's a great study that was published a couple of months ago, I did a video on, where they talk about the acceptance of same-sex activities. In 1990, only 13% of the United States population thought that same-sex activities was acceptable. In 2014, that number jumped to 48%. This is an accepted thing to be bisexual, and by the time a freshman in high school becomes an adult or becomes 21 years old, that number is going to be over 50%. So more than half the United States population will be accepting of same-sex behavior. And let's really think about that. That's not just like liberals saying that this is accepted behavior. We're talking about groups who involve conservative Christians, who involve other social conservatives. The population is just changing their view. Same-sex marriage has just become the law of the land. So many things are different. If you are bisexual and you want to see yourself, there are lead bisexual characters on television that are out saving the world. You want to see a bisexual save the world? Watch The 100, where an openly bisexual female is the hero, the heroine out to save humanity. Or you can watch The Magicians, or you can watch The Shannara Chronicles. Bisexuals are being portrayed in ways that are so more reflective of who we actually are, because in reality, bisexuals have changed the course of mankind with Alexander the Great and Julius Caesar and all these incredible people who have done more for society than, let's say, a lot of other groups have done. So things are becoming increasingly better. And if you want to change your perspective on things, all you have to do is surround yourself by the positive energy out there as opposed to negative energy. The more you focus on what's wrong and things that need to change and how bad it is that these people are treating you this way, the more it becomes a part of your soul, and the worse you feel and the more escaping you want to do. But the more you focus on the positive, the more you focus on, let's say, what the great things about being bisexual is. And if you I make these videos on this channel for a reason. And the reason, you can tell they're all very positive. It's because I want people to understand that the negativity out there is not real. It's a choice to believe. You can choose to believe whatever you want. And these are the actual positive realities of being bisexual. Surround yourself with the positive television shows out that portray bisexuals in these wonderful ways. If you enjoy reading, type bisexual friendly into Amazon and see what comes up. There won't be a lot of stuff right now, but keep in mind that things are changing by the day. Every day you wake up, things are a little bit better. No matter how dire it seems to you right now, things are constantly getting better. In a day, in a week, in a month, there will be more things, more television shows, more movies, more people who are just completely accepting of bisexuality, more YouTube videos about it, more books. And when you look at books, since for bisexuals, romance is always such a tough topic, type in bisexual romance into Amazon. And you will be surprised by how many books come up. Now, some of them aren't great, but there are other authors like myself, I write bisexual romance, where a part of the romance is the acceptance of the partner. Like, to me, that's a huge turn on when my partner is accepting the fact of who I am. That's a massive turn on. So in my stories, when I'm writing these romances, a lot of it has to do with the fact that the other characters are accepting of the main character who is bisexual. But the point is, there's so many avenues today where you can find and see how many positive changes are happening or get positive reinforcement for being bisexual. So if your desire to escape comes from the fact that you think there's so many things out there are horrible, take a second and step back. There's so many wonderful things going on with bisexuality right now in terms of acceptance, in terms of the community growing, in terms of ways you can see yourself. Black Sails, oh my God, that's such an incredible show. You really have to check out Black Sails. But yes, so yes, there's good news and there's bad news from the CDC study. The good news is that there are 3 times as many bisexual high school students as there are gay and lesbian students, and the numbers will probably only get bigger and bigger as time goes on. And the bad news is that currently those bisexual students have a higher likelihood to do everything negative. But perception is everything. Surround yourself with positive energy. Hear all the positive messages and block out as much as you can all the negative people around you that are saying the negative crap that you don't need to hear. In fact, put yourself on like a month where you cut all those people out of your life, as many of them as you can. Just cut them out because you don't need their negativity. And the truth is that their negativity are just words. They don't mean anything. It's their probably childish perception of the way the world works when it's wrong. So there's no need to take in their negative, childish, wrong ideas. There's no reason for it. It just makes you feel bad. Why feel bad? Focus on feeling good, not on escaping, but taking pride in who you are, because I can tell you, being bisexual, the actual being of bisexual, is freaking awesome. Hey, the reason why bisexuals are the way they are is because they get a dopamine rush when they are of people of more than one gender. So that means that you can go into a room and you can kind of feel good by looking at that person and that person and that person and that person, and you can get these small rushes. That's a wonderful feeling. That's a wonderful thing. The only thing negative about being bisexual is the way other people perceive it. And that is changing rapidly. So there it is. I'll put a link to the study below if you want to take a look at it. And I'll put a link to some of my books if you want to check those things out. And if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up and subscribe. I do many videos on the bisexual topic, but I don't do them on a regular basis, but I do them frequently. So if you want to know when a video comes out, you have to click on the little button that says, let me know when a new video comes out. Please share this video. Share it. Share the positivity. And until the next video, stay cooler, my bisexual friend. Stay cooler. Bye-bye.